Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the RDX Sports Podcast. I'm Simon Head, and after a busy weekend of fights last weekend, we've got another busy weekend of fights coming this weekend too. Friday night and Saturday night are your places to be, in front of the screen, watching a whole load of top draw mixed martial arts action. Kicking off with Cage Warriors on Friday night as they bring you Cage Warriors 197 unplugged from the BEC Arena up there in Manchester, England. Followed the following day by the same arena playing the same promotion but with a packed house as Cage Warriors 198 closes up their doubleheader in Manchester. Also on Saturday night, we have Octagon 80 at the SAP Garden in Munich, Germany, as Octagon look to crown a new lightweight champion. As former champ and the first man to ever hold lightweight gold in Octagon, Poland's Mateusz Legerski looks to become a two-time lightweight Octagon champion as he takes on Attila Korkmaz for the vacant £155 belt on a packed night of fights over there in Munich. Finally, we've got the big show, the UFC, heading across the pond and all the way over to Doha in Qatar for a huge UFC Fight Night show. It's going to be a massive event. The card is absolutely loaded. There's loads of big names on the card, loads of important fights on the card as well. It's all shaping up to be a really packed, really busy weekend of mixed martial arts. You're going to need multiple screens for this, with a lot of these fights happening at the same time on Saturday night. MMA multi-screen madness is going to descend upon us this weekend, but it'll be well worth checking out the action. Let's break down everything that's going to be taking place this weekend on what is a packed weekend of mixed martial arts. Here we go. Let's take a look at what's coming this weekend in the UFC. They are heading to Doha in Qatar for UFC Fight Night Tsarukyan versus Hooker. First positive, we're getting this at prime time. Hooray! 6 p.m. start time for the main card. What a time to be alive. Amazing stuff. We don't have to sit up till stupid o'clock in the morning. Good news for everybody on our side of the pond. Also good news is the fight card. We have got a lot of good fights on this card. Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker is your main event. 5 rounds at £155. Number 2 versus number 7 in the lightweight division. Serious championship ramifications in play here. Arman Tsarukyan has been... He's probably the best fighter in the division who hasn't fought for the belt yet. He had his chance. He missed weight or he pulled out on the weigh-in day. Never got his shot at the belt as a result. And now he's got a chance to put himself in line to potentially take on Ilia Topuria in 2026. To do that, he's got to beat Dan Hooker, who, best word to describe him, savage. He is an absolute savage. He will fight anybody, anywhere, anytime. He'll fight you on the ground. He'll fight you standing up. He doesn't care. He's long, he's rangy, he's got dangerous strikes, he's got sneaky good submissions. If he can stop the Tsarukyan takedown, this is going to get very interesting very quickly. If he can't, it could become a one-sided affair with Tsarukyan being the man in a dominant position. But we shall see. Takedown defense is going to be the determining factor on what kind of spectacle we get in the main event. But 2 very good lightweights going head-to-head in that main event. Big fight at £170 in the co-main event. We referred to it a bit earlier on in the show. Belal Muhammad, still ranked number 1 right now as the UFC top contender in the welterweight division, taking on number 6, Ian Machado Garry. Muhammad needs to bounce back after losing his belt to Jack Della Maddalena. Ian Machado Garry is looking to position himself for a shot at the belt in 2026. We saw what happened at Madison Square Garden. For either one of these two guys to jump the line and end up ahead of the guy I think deserves a shot right now, Michael Morales, we're going to need to see a finish in this fight. Ian Machado Garry hasn't finished a fight in the UFC since 2023. Belal Muhammad is more of a grindy kind of fighter as well. I'm not sure if we're going to see a finish in this. Maybe we will. If we do, it's probably going to be Machado Garry who does something from range with maybe a head kick, or just picking him apart from distance and maybe getting a TKO stoppage. The smart money is probably on a decision though. And then it's pick your poison, who you think is the most likely victor but that is a super important fight at 170 pounds. The winner will be in the mix. How much they're in the mix will depend on how they get the job done. But a big, big fight. Belal Muhammad, Ian Machado Garry in the co-main event. Also on the card at 205 pounds, ranked light heavyweights, Volkan Ozdemir and Alonzo Menafield will go head-to-head. That will be a banger. Both of them like to stand and trade. Both have serious knockout power. It's easy to forget. Volkan Ozdemir fought for the light heavyweight title a good while back. He has the power to put anybody's lights out, as does Alonzo Menafield. We'll see how this one goes. It's going to be, I don't think it will go the distance. I think it will be a pretty exciting fight for as long as it lasts. Welterweights, Jack Hermansson, former Cage Warriors champion, against Mikbek Oralbay of Kyrgyzstan. That could be a decent one at 170 pounds. And we've got two ranked heavyweights going head-to-head. Sergey Spivak, currently listed 7th in the official UFC heavyweight rank, is taking on Shamil Gaziev, who I believe is Russian, but fights under the flag of Bahrain. The Kingdom of Bahrain is ranked 11th as we stand at heavyweight. And kicking off the main card, top 10 flyweights, Alex Perez and Asu Almabayev going head-to-head. That is a low-key really good fight. That is a really good fight. That might deliver fight of the night. Very, very good fight at 125 pounds. Now, plenty of interest on the prelims, which kick off at 3 p.m. UK time. We've got some British interest on this preliminary card and some great fights as well. The featured prelim sees the UFC debut of undefeated Englishman Luke Riley as he takes on Austria's Bogdan Grad, a contender series graduate, all puns intended. But he's taking on Luke Riley. Luke Riley never actually won a Cage Warriors title. Was on the verge of probably fighting for one had he stuck around in Cage Warriors any longer. But to be honest, he could have been in the UFC 18 months ago. He's super talented and his chance is long overdue. He's in the UFC. He hasn't had to go through the contender series. The fact that he got signed without needing to go through the contender series tells you all you need to know about how the UFC matchmakers view Luke Riley's talent. He didn't need to prove himself in front of Dana White. It was a slam dunk signing. He takes on Bogdan Grad of Austria in the featured prelim at 145 pounds. Light heavyweights, Abdul Rahman Yakhyayev against Rafael Sequeira will also feature on the early prelims. Tager Ulanbekov versus Kyoji Horiguchi at flyweight is on the early prelims. I'm staggered by this. I genuinely am. Okay, I understand Horiguchi is not ranked, but Kyoji Horiguchi is a legend of the sport and on his day, one of the very best flyweights on planet Earth. He's taken on Tager Ulanbekov, who is 12th ranked, but probably better than that. This is a really, really good fight, and I'm surprised it's so low down on the fight card. Maybe it's so low down on the fight card because it caters to the Japanese time zone. I'm not quite sure how that all computes. My maths is terrible. But that might be one of the reasons why he's on early. But that is an absolute banger of a flyweight fight. And whoever wins that is going to get some serious push. If Kyoji Horiguchi wins, then he's going to be in a co-main or a main event next. He has to be because he's got the name power. He's a former rising champion and someone who has fought for the UFC title in the past as well, back in the days of Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. So he's someone who will get fast tracked if he wins this. If Ulanbekov can get a win, what a feather in the cap it will be for him. Very talented Russian flyweight, big, rangy for the weight class. Looking forward to seeing how that pans out. That's going to be quite a discrepancy in size when we see them in the cage, I think. Bantamweights, Bekzat Almakhan of Kazakhstan taking on Alexandra Topuria of Georgia. There's an interesting side note to this. I've just realised Alexandra Topuria will likely be cornered by a certain Ilya Topuria. And Luke Riley may well have a certain Paddy Pimblett in his camp. So we might see a little meeting between Messrs Topuria and Pimblett at some point during fight week. And that's the fight we've been looking for, right? We need that fight to get booked. Why not announce it in Baku? Face them off. Get them in the cage. Let's have a little chat with a pair of them. Why not? that would be fantastic if we got to see that next weekend. Keep an eye out for that. But yes, Alexandra Topuria looking to make his own mark at bantamweight, taking on Almakhan at 135 pounds. Ismail Nadeyev taking on Ryan Loder at middleweight. And before that, Nurullo Aliyev of Tajikistan welcoming Shamrock to the UFC. Shamrock, for anybody who has watched Octagon, will know Shem, a very dangerous lightweight grappler. Trains out a next generation up there in Liverpool, England. Got an incredible backstory, being on the run from the authorities, having to fight in Ireland, and eventually getting through all of those troubles earlier in his career to become one of the top lightweights in Europe. And he could have stuck around at Octagon, potentially for a bit longer, and eventually won a title. In the end, he has his shot in the big time with the UFC. He's not a shy man either. He's certainly someone who you're either going to love him or you're going to hate him. I'm a big fan of Shem. I think he's a good dude. I've spoken to him a few times, and but I know, because my English sense of humor gets him, not everybody will, and he will polarize opinion, and that will make his fights even more compelling as he starts to make his way up the UFC lightweight ranks. Nurullo Aliyev is a good first test for him. Looking forward to seeing Shem on his UFC debut. Speaking of European fighters, Nicholas Dalby, a guy whose career I've followed for many, many years, former Cage Warriors champion, and someone who just always brings it on fight night. You see his name on a fight card, you know you're going to get a great fight. He's a guarantee of a good fight. He's taking on Sagid Izagakmaev. Hope I haven't butchered that name too much. At welterweight, and kicking off the night will be a heavyweight bout between Marek Bulio and Denzel Freeman. That will kick off the night. It is a big old fight card in Doha, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And the fact that it's going to be taking place during sensible hours for us in the UK only makes it more compelling. You can check out the action. The main card will be live on TNT Sports and Discovery Plus here in the UK from 6 p.m. this Saturday, November 22nd. The prelims will be live on UFC Fight Pass from 3 p.m. UK time. Again, lots to look at, lots to enjoy, and some very important matchups, whether it be debutants looking to make their mark, prospects looking to move up, or contenders looking to position themselves for a future title shot in 2026. Lots of storylines heading into UFC Doha. Looking forward to checking that action out on Saturday night. All right, so that was the big show. That was UFC Qatar coming to us from Doha this weekend. Big stuff on that fight card, but big stuff too coming from the European scene. The two biggest and best promotions in Europe, both holding events over the course of the weekend. Cage Warriors have a double header in Manchester, England. Cage Warriors 197 takes place at the BEC Arena in Manchester. The unplugged format is a very stripped back format, invited crowd only very few people in the building, very intimate sort of warehouse kind of feel to the fights. And headlining is Damon Wilson of the United States, taking on a Cage Warriors and UK MMA veteran in Aidan Lee in a 145-pound fight that could progress one of them towards championship contention. That will be a big, important matchup for the featherweight division in Cage Warriors. As I say, potentially a step closer to a championship matchup for either guy. Both guys super experienced. Both guys know what it takes to win in Cage Warriors. And it's the UK versus USA in the main event there at the BEC Arena. Also on the card, Nel Ariano, undefeated French light heavyweight, taking on Finland's Riku Erhelin at 205 pounds. Elton Armindo, 7-0 from Portugal, taking on 7-1 Italian Giuseppe Mastrogiacomo at 145 pounds. Another Italian, Giacomo Michelis, taking on Michael Dubois of Switzerland. Big experience advantage for Michael Dubois. 26-11 in his career, going against the 8-1 surging contender Giacomo Michelis at 170 pounds. That'll be an interesting one. And look out for Mitchell Good. He's 2-1 as a pro. He first made his impact on the Cage Warriors middleweight division with one of the submissions of the year a year or two ago. His buggy choke finish. Amazing finish with a buggy choke. First one we've seen, certainly in Cage Warriors. They're very rarely seen in mixed martial arts, but that was a great example and one of the best pieces of commentary you'll hear anywhere where Brad Wharton, don't blame it on the sunshine, blame it on the buggy. Great stuff from Brad Wharton on comms on that one, and a brilliant finish from Mitchell Good. He's now 2-1, taking on undefeated Jordan O'Neill, who is 3-0. They are your main matchups at the top of the fight card at Cage Warriors 197 Unplugged, which takes place Friday, November 21st. That will be live, streaming live in the UK and internationally on UFC Fight Pass and wider than that, international broadcast partners across Europe as well. That is Cage Warriors 197 on Friday. That gives way to Cage Warriors 198 on Saturday. Same event, this time with a packed crowd in attendance. Cage Warriors 198 will feature a battle for the interim lightweight championship as Omar Tugarev of Finland takes on O'Mill Brown of Jamaica, fighting out of Renegade Jiu-Jitsu in the UK, up there in Birmingham, training partner of Leon Rocky Edwards and Fabian Edwards and Tom Breeze. He's got a lot of good training partners in the room up there. He is 11-3. He's looking to capture the lightweight belt against Omar Tugarev, who will be looking to make the first defense of his title. Co-main event, the evergreen, always entertaining Chris Bungard will make the walk for the 32nd time in his professional mixed martial arts career as he takes on Simone Patrizzi of Italy in a lightweight contest. Ireland's Leon Hill will look to improve his 9-2 slate when he takes on Brazil's Elano Andrade at 170 pounds. Undefeated Jack Humphreys will look to extend that unbeaten run to 5-0 when he takes on Joab Souza of Brazil in a 135-pound bantamweight contest. And also we have, just skimming down the fight card, Tim Wilde. The experiment has been in and around UK MMA circles for what seems like forever. He is on the card against Oscar Owensworth at 155 pounds. Next generation rising star at flyweight, Fran Breen, 4-1, taking on Italy's 4-1 Ayub Nasser, as I say, at 125 pounds. Some good stuff on this fight card up there at the BEC. Great venue for fights, by the way. It is, I mentioned like the Unplugged being like a warehouse feel. It basically kind of is like a massive warehouse, the BEC Arena. If you're in the area, get tickets and go. It is a great place to watch fights. The atmosphere is always good. They put on a great show, Cage Warriors, and there's a reason why so many of their top fighters not just make it to the UFC, but make it and do pretty well for themselves when they get there. The matches are well made in terms of, you don't get many people jump from Cage Warriors into the UFC and just get blown away because they've been spoon-fed opponents. You tend to find that they get there and they do all right. And the reason for that is matchmaker Ian Dean books the right matchups for the right fighters. And it makes for great entertaining fights for people who sit and watch the Cage Warriors events, but it also builds that experience, builds that valuable cage time and experience for the fighters themselves. Even if they might lose some along the way, it all pays off when they eventually make it onto the big stage. And then they have the skills and experience they need to progress. But yeah, Cage Warriors 198, November 22nd, Saturday night from the BEC Arena. As we mentioned for the previous show, this will stream live on UFC Fight Pass and Cage Warriors other global broadcasting platforms. But UFC Fight Pass is a place to be if you are here in the UK. So we've got back-to-back Cage Warriors action, Friday night, Saturday night. But that is not the only mixed martial arts action coming from the European shores, so to speak, in this weekend. This weekend, we head to Munich, Germany for Octagon 80. Legerski versus Korkmaz. Number 2 versus number 3 in the official Octagon MMA lightweight rankings. The lightweight belt currently vacant, and Legursky, who was actually the first man to capture the Octagon MMA lightweight title, will take on Attila Korkmaz in a battle for the 155-pound belt. 5 5-minute rounds, as you would expect in a title fight. Legursky 12-2, looked really good in the Titsport Game Changer, just fell a little bit short towards the sharp end of it. Attila Korkmaz 16-10 overall, but that doesn't really do justice to his career. He's in there with top opposition every time he competes. He's actually 2-3 under Octagon MMA, but his willingness to get in there and take on anybody has kept him in and around the upper echelons of the division. And after picking up a win last time out, he has a shot at the title. And the man who used to hold the belt wants to hold it for a second time, Matthias Legursky. That is your main event. Also on the card, Christian Jungwirth taking on Niklas Stolzer in an all-German battle at 170 pounds. That is sure to deliver some fireworks. Jungwirth is like a folk hero in German MMA. Niklas Stolzer has the UFC experience, doing good things in Octagon as well. Now they're going to go head-to-head at 170 pounds to see who moves forward in that division. Alexander Popek, former light heavyweight title challenger, moving down a little bit to take on Marek Mazuch. Marek Mazuch, sorry, he a middleweight by trade. Popek a light heavyweight by trade. They've agreed to face off at 194 pounds in a catchweight contest. Now, whether this means that Mazuch is on his way up or Popek is on his way down, I think this is a bit of a transition fight for Popek, who has had a few goes at trying to make it to the top of the light heavyweight division and has fallen agonizingly short. He's a big, strong dude. If he can make it to 185 pounds eventually without issue, he could be a real factor because he is a unit of a man. And if he can go in there and get a win against someone like Mazuch, then that immediately puts him in the mix. And maybe if his next fight after this is at 185 pounds, you never know. He might be in the mix for a title shot at middleweight. But we shall see how this one pans out. The weigh-ins will be particularly interesting. You can check those out. Octagon stream those live on YouTube, so be sure to check out their YouTube channel for the live weigh-in stream to see just what happens with Alexander Popek on the scale on what would be Friday morning as they weigh in Munich ahead of Fight Night on Saturday. Ronald Paradisa, one of the biggest stars of Octagon, one of the best fighters in Octagon, Slovakia's Ronald Paradisa, moved up from lightweight to welterweight and looked really good, and he's now on his way towards a championship fight at 170 pounds, taking on Brazil's Geraldo Neto on this fight card. He'll be looking to really make a statement in this fight, move himself up towards championship contention at 170 pounds. And Dennis Frimpong, the polarizing, interesting, biggest wind-up merchant in Octagon MMA, and I say that with love. He's a top man, but he is a very, very, very good wind-up merchant. He's taking on Gökhan Aksu. Aksu, who he's referred to as having a reverse cyan haircut. And he wants to go in there, take on the Austrian, make a statement against Aksu, and then put himself in line for a shot at the winner of the main event. So don't be surprised if Mr. Frimpong, if he gets the win on Saturday, sticks around for the main event and maybe even finds himself in the cage facing off with a winner by the night's end. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Looking further down the card, Matus Kohut takes on Endrit Brashuri at 170. Hungary's Matti Kurtes taking on undefeated German Felix Klinkhammer, who I think still trains out of the UK. And the last time I think we saw him, he won a title for Arez FC in France. As I say, 10-0. You can't ignore a fighter when he's had that many fights and he hasn't lost one yet. He's stepping into Octagon looking to make an impact at 170 pounds. So also on the card, Ozan Aslana taking on Marco Antonio Elpidio. Michael Jegashek, who I thought had retired, I'll be honest. He's bouncing back. He's taking on TSL Dana Smith at 150 pounds. Maybe the opportunity to fight on home soil one more time is what he's looking for here. That's a 150 pound catchweight fight, that one. And Ugan Blackdell taking on Emil Kurhela. That is your fight card for Octagon 80. The Ronald Paradisa fight, if you think that the matchup is a slightly strange one, given Paradisa's stock in the division, Geraldo Neto stepping in to replace Brazilian contender and former Brave FC contender Jolton Lutterbach, who was forced off the card. So that is your fight card for Octagon 80. That takes place at the SAP Garden in Munich, Germany on Saturday night. You'll be able to get that via online pay-per-view, octagon.tv. From memory, the stream is about 15 quid, I think. 14.95 or something like that. But always great shows to watch. Great commentary. I always mention the commentary team for Octagon. They do such a good job. Just like Cage Warriors have got the brilliant Brad Wharton, Octagon have the brilliant Brian Lacey and Luke Barnett, who are a great double act. Really do add an extra layer to Octagon shows. So that is well worth checking out on Saturday night. Now, if you're checking that out, you're going to have to sort of dual screen or triple screen, because you've got Cage Warriors, you've got Octagon, and of course, as we mentioned at the top of the show, you've got the UFC as well. So many fights coming at you all at the same time. Everything, everywhere, all at once. As someone once said, they should make a movie with a title like that. That is coming on Saturday night. Loads of fights from Germany, from Manchester, England, and from Doha in Qatar. It is a busy weekend of fights. And here at RDX Sports, we will bring you coverage of all of them. All of them, I tell you. All three events will have coverage on the RDX Sports blog. blogs.rdxsports.com is the place to check out our fight night coverage. So be sure to do that either during the fights or when the fights are all done and dusted on Saturday night. Right. That's about all we've got time for on the RDX Sports podcast this week. Packed show. Lots of fights to unpack. Lots of fights to look forward to. Don't forget, give us a follow. Social media at Simon Head Sport on all social platforms. At RDX Sports on X. At RDX_sports on Instagram. And finally, give us a like. Give us a subscribe. Follow everything we have here on the RDX Sports YouTube channel. And make sure you never miss an episode of the RDX Sports podcast. Don't forget, you can check out our combat sports coverage at blogs.rdxsports.com as well. Thanks so much for joining us on the RDX Sports podcast. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the fights from Doha this coming weekend. And I'll speak to you in a week's time.